Happy Monday, everybody. Texas Homer, Eric Nolly, and Coach Dub. We are going to talk about Tashard Choice. The Cowboys approached him, made fans nervous. We also have a couple more latest hires. It's going to be important. And then Eric did an interesting piece, which oddly a week ago I was doing a similar exercise trying to see where we were going to be at with like our senior class. And we'll find out that our evals didn't go exactly according to plan in that 22 class. And we have a little bit of a chart we can kind of check out. But it is interesting trying to see where our leadership is going to come from the older guys. But until then, we're going to talk about Choice. All right, so the Cowboys approach Tashard Choice. He, of course, played for the Cowboys. The NFL is a very cool thing to do. What happened there? Why did he end up sticking with Texas?
Well, I think the main reason he ended up sticking with Texas, outside of the fact that he likes it there and he's comfortable there, he's got a growing family, he's in a good spot, lives in a nice town outside of Austin. He's just got a good quality of life, but I mean it's financial too. The Cowboys lowballed him, which is, a lot of fans don't understand that. I do. Running back coaches are fungible for the most part. They're teaching all the same things. Working with pros is not the same as working with high school kids or college kids. They largely know the fundamentals of the sport. By then you either know how to secure the ball or you don't. By then you either know how to pick up the blitz or you don't. So teaching isn't quite as valuable. You're more of a locker room guy. Sometimes you're still a mentor, but a lot of those guys are men by then. So the real value at running back coach is recruiting. And Tashard is an ace. He's one of the best in the country. He's not just a good running back recruiter. He's a great volume recruiter. He's always sending names up the ladder for the staff to check out. He's helping out his fellow coaches on the defensive side too. Hey, I just saw this guy at, for example, Grayson High School. Go, you guys need to check him out. He's very, very involved in that aspect. And he's a great guy on the team, brings energy in practice. He's a fantastic coach for Texas. Now, with the advent of NIL, recruiting isn't quite the same as it was 5 years ago. But he's fantastic. And had he left, it would have put Texas in a tough spot trying to replace him in a cycle where they have to get a couple studs and they're in position to get a couple studs. The last thing you want to do is have to find a new running back coach. But luckily, it didn't come to that. Everybody's in a good spot. Cowboys will find their guy that will be happily go risk his career with Jerry Jones. And, it worked out basically how I thought it would. But, yeah, we were checking it because you just don't know what the Cowboys are going to offer. And we did hear when Texas first got Choice that his dream job was running backs coach for the Cowboys.
Wow. Yeah, as a Dallas sports fan right now, I am not having a great –
we got to talk about that just because it was that big of a bombshell. I mean, I watched basketball and I yelled out, "Holy sh!" And my wife, she thought something bad happened. Yeah. And I guess if you're a Cowboy, if you're a Dallas fan, a Mavericks fan, something bad did happen. That knocked me over, man.
My wife's a Spurs fan, and she found out before me. And she didn't even tell me. She waited until I realized it because she was in a good mood about it, man. But
my first thought was, "Oh my God, is Justin okay?"
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Man, that was shocking, man.
Living downtown, they had a fake burial outside American Airlines.
Yeah, they brought they did a whole funeral for him. They laid roses and everything. It was crazy, man. When y'all see Justin, I think you guys will see Justin tomorrow for recruiting intel. You make sure to keep him in your thoughts.
He's gonna be in a black veil.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be mourning. I don't even know if he'll be on the shows this week. He might need the week off.
If you would have made a list of the 5 most untouchable stars in all of sports, I think Luka would have been on there. It's probably Luka. Jose Altuve isn't. That guy's just not. Is he going to die in an Astros uniform? I don't know. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, totally untouchable, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you give him up for Anthony Davis, and if you look at what was given up for 34-year-old Kevin Durant, I mean, just an amazing circumstance.
I woke up today and still was like, did that really? That doesn't even because I can't. There's no logic to me that I appreciate it. It's been absolutely strange, man.
It was posted on IT at like 11 o'clock the night before, and it had 4 pages of activity. I'm like, what in the hell? Because it's 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Nobody's online. It's lowest traffic time of the day, and it was going crazy. It was wild.
Yeah, I woke up to it because I'd already gone to sleep, but man, they tried to do it in the middle of the night. Man, that was crazy, man. Oh man, it's still. I watched a highlight video this morning of him, and it was making me sad, dude. Oh man, that sucks. All right, football.
Yeah.
What do you think, Coach, on the Tashard choice sticking around? I saw his little baby girl had her
I
horns up.
thought that was pretty cool. I mean, honestly, look, it's good for Texas, and I'm sure Cowboys probably won't be the only NFL or the last NFL team to try to come after him, right? It speaks to what kind of guys we have on staff. But like what Eric said, he's an ace recruiter, man. Like every kid, no matter the position, talks about Coach Choice. Caden Finnan last week, he talked about Coach Choice, right? Even though he's been recruited by Chris Jackson, it's like, man, Coach Choice is just that guy. He's that dude, man. He feels like family, feels like the big brother you never had. And so every kid speaks highly of him. Every family speaks highly of him. It's what kind of person he is, what kind of coach he is. And so I'm glad he's staying at Texas. I think it'll be great, especially for the 26th class, who he's grown to know, and they've grown to know him. And so, but yeah, we figured maybe the Cowboys would lowball, and like Eric said, running back coaches aren't paid as much, especially at that level. And so, worked out for Texas. I'm happy. He don't need to go to the Cowboys, man. I don't want to root against him.
Here's a good visual for everybody. We're hanging out around Moncrief last August before a practice. We're there for recruiting reasons, so we're outside of Moncrief. But Choice is on his way to practice, and the walk from Moncrief to Denius Fields is, I mean, it's a real walk. You're going uphill, downhill. He's in a hoodie and he just books it, just takes off. I mean, it was like a marathoner's pace, just getting over there in a full hoodie in August. It's hot as hell, and he just doesn't care, man. He's just going to get after it. So he's still at that age where he's in good shape, but still can communicate with the younger guys. He doesn't need to go through the uncle or whatever. It's like he's still that he can still speak that language.
Yeah, he can still be big brother before he goes into uncle. That's what is important, because he gets the relatable side of where you feel comfortable with him and like there's an understanding, but also he can actually coach you up too, and you respect it.
Yeah,
he always has on the hoodie. Him and Bo, dude. I don't know what was up with Bo in that sweater, dude. But man,
I just don't think Bo liked to do laundry.
Is that what it was? Because it was like it was crazy, dude. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
All right, so we're not the only hires we had to pay attention for, or not even a hire, fending off the Cowboys. Let's talk Lallin Clark first. Let me add him over here to the stage. Okay, so outside linebackers, Eric reported going to be outside linebackers for us. If you go on his Instagram, trains a lot of pro players, calls himself a pass rush specialist. They're doing a lot of drills, like it's a lot of hyper footwork stuff. He's very concerned with that. I think it's feet, hip, hands, and eyes is his mantra of what he wants to do, and they're very technical drills. So watching that was interesting. So maybe he comes in and kind of helps PK out with some drill setup, that kind of stuff in the pass rush side. That'll be interesting. And like we said, a lot of connection with pros and a background in training. And I was telling Coach too that these good trainers are recruiters. You have to recruit guys to come do your drills and pay you and all of that stuff. So it's an interesting hire. I like it. I think he's from Louisiana. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong there. But
Baton Rouge,
yeah, to have somebody in that area too would be interesting. So what's the latest there, Eric?
Well, they had a guy similar on staff, and then when Choate went to Nevada, that guy went with Choate and became a on-field coach, a full-time coach. So this is kind of replacing that. Yeah, this guy's going to wear a lot of hats. Part of it's recruiting, part of it's player relationships. PK is more of an X's and O's guy. Scheme caller. He's not really, he's not really the mentor. A lot of these guys are still at the stage where they want a mentor in that position. PK is not really that. He's X's and O's and just going to call it. This guy will do player relationships. He'll do some coaching, of course. I'm sure he'll add some new elements to it. What PK already does. It's not like PK really needs help teaching the fundamentals of the position. He's got an extremely good track record at it.
Yeah.
But this guy's going to come in and bring a different energy to the room. Like we were just talking about with Choice. PK is not exactly going to bring the energy. Player relations and recruiting. He played at Grambling. He coached at Prairie View A&M and Southern University. And he was obviously here. He's a graduate assistant at Ohio State. I don't think they wanted to lose him. Sounds like he has a bright future. At some point, Texas will lose him because he's going to look to go be on a full-time staff, full-time position coach. This is just a natural progression of it. But for the meantime, let him help PK recruit the edges, no matter where they are in the country. Texas is going to have to go out of state this cycle, pretty obviously, outside of Jamarian Carlton. And then, let him help out in Louisiana. Him and Terry Joseph could probably do some damage in the boot.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Coach, what were we talking about too, that he could bring some of the pros down to Austin and how that could be cool?
Yeah, definitely. You see a ton. You're starting to see a lot of these trainers get on staff, but they always invite the guys they train, especially the NFL guys, back. Hey, off season, come back and train. But also you got the guys you're coaching on your team that can help train with those NFL guys, so they can see what it's like to be a pro. And so it's going to be huge for recruiting purposes, because if you look at his roster of guys he trains in the NFL, it's going to attract kids to want to come to Texas, just be around them and be a part of it. But it really, really helps with the development, especially in the offseason, right? A pass rush specialist, PK can focus on the X's and O's, game planning. If he can trust this guy to, like, hey, I need to develop him, get his pass rushing skills up to par, whatever the case, he'll be able to do that. And so add him to the fold really helps. I love it. But like I said, you're starting to see that it's a trend around college football now. Some of these trainers are starting to get on staffs, and it really helps.
I'd love to be the guy that gets to say, yeah, I coached Colin Simmons. It's like, I could coach Colin Simmons. But yeah, having Ed Oliver around, if he makes his way up to UT, I didn't really love UT during the recruiting process. But Daniil Hunter, who's right there locally and plays for the Texans, but from Houston, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of those guys working out in the offseason in Austin.
Yeah. So you get potential Louisiana connections. That's important. You get a guy that trains NFL guys, so he knows what you need for the next level. And he has technical ability from training guys. So it's, and
player relations. Let's not forget one that I think is probably a little underrated, somebody to be in that room and kind of be a bridge to Grandpa PK. PK is not – he's just not super close with his guys. That's just, not his thing. So I think player relations is very big for this guy.
Cool. So, yeah, not like an interesting hire for not being like an on-the-field type position coach.
Yeah, and you know what? I also like he's going to come down here with Ohio State's big board at edge too. So who did you guys like? Why did you like him? Are you able to get us in the door with him? Are we already on the kid? That now you're kind of doubling up on it because the kid already liked Texas. Now he has a guy that he was familiar with at Ohio State helping out. So let's see if a couple more offers go out in the edge room here in the next week or so.
Cool. I like it. All right, we also have another hire, Josh Dunson. He was the Memphis director of recruiting. And then, so where's he ended up in our hierarchy in the personnel side?
Kind of like when Carrington first got to Texas, evaluate and outreach, that sort of thing. He's originally from Georgia. Again, he's going to have a different sort of big board. Obviously, Memphis wasn't going to be in the same market as Texas is, but he's going to be in those same high schools. Those same high schools that produce a guy going to Memphis also produce a guy going to Georgia. So he's going to have those relationships already in place. If you can, it's actually tougher to evaluate a kid going to Memphis than it is the kid that would go to Texas. So evaluation is not going to be a concern for him one bit. Maybe you get your next big thing. That room got a little bit depleted. When they lost Glasscock and elevated Harris, they never really replaced Harris. They had a couple of guys. They've had some guys that they elevated, but I'm not sure that they replaced them. J.M. Jones moved up the ladder. You just want to keep a pipeline of young guys that are talented, have upside. Maybe this guy could one day become if he's director at Memphis, he could probably do it at Texas too. Maybe there's a little bit more political maneuvering to be done, but he'll learn that. But yeah, just he's going to come in with his own connections. It's evaluate and outreach. Reach out to a kid. Hey, did you ever think about the University of Texas? A lot of the kids they reach out to 5 years ago, probably not in the Southeast. Now the door's a lot easier to get open to. He'll help out in that regard.
Yeah, Coach, I think that was an interesting point that Eric made, that it's harder to evaluate at a Memphis level than a Texas level because you're really having to find value in guys that have been passed over. I can recruit a 5-star. That's instant. Once you're dealing with a 3 and no stars, it takes a little bit more skill. From your time at UNLV, how do you feel about that, kind of having to be able to evaluate guys that aren't the most clearest projections?
I love it because that means he's a grinder. Like, he got to go out and find the real talent. It's easy to look at On3 and look at the highest ranked guys and see who's offered, but actually go out there and find talent yourself. You really got to dig deep and do your homework, get into the arms and, really search the high school levels around you or whatever section, whatever area they put him in, and really fact find about kids and go out and find them and send coaches out on the road. Make sure you have all the information detailed for, hey, Coach Choice, here's 10 guys I looked at in the area that you recruit, right, that you need to check out, that nobody else is really checking out, and trying to find them before they hit the radar and make a big name for yourself. So you got a guy's probably going to be in there 10 to 12 hours a day really trying to find kids. And I love it, right, because leave no stone unturned when you come to recruiting. You never know what you'll find. You might find a diamond in the rough, and so he'll definitely help with that. Also, too, with how the transfer portal's going, if Texas wants a guy and he's going to be a third-string guy and he's a starter at year at, just wait a year. Wait 2 years. We'll get into that in our attrition section. But,
it's not always recruiting that year too. You might get them back in the portal. Did you pull something up, Eric? Are you good?
Oh, we'll get to it later. Whenever. Here, this is
Okay.
a good one, though.
Yeah. Yeah, because now when we're doing our exercises, like what are we worried about next year? Where do we need portal transition? All that kind of stuff. Edge is now everybody's like, well, we're good at edge. Let's figure everything else out, which is the complete inverse of what was going on when Sark started. So
yeah, I think we're even better at edge than most people realize, because I think Zena is going to be really good in time too. And then Colton Vothwick, we keep hearing about him. He has to stay healthy and get healthy, but the edge is it was just a slow buildup, remember? And everybody wanted PK fired that first year when he had nobody in that room at all. Especially, I always forget the guy's name that got hurt. They had to put Jet Bush over there.
Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, Jacoby Jones. That was a huge loss. And had Osai come back for a fourth year, that defense would have looked a lot different. But that was a total rebuild. And look where they are now. Colin Simmons changed the complexion, but you also have the development of Barron Sorrell, who just tore it up in Mobile. That was a great evaluation from the previous staff, actually. And then, credit to Barron. We always sing his praises here for how hard he worked. And then, Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, you add him. Ethan Burke, late decision to go on him in the 2022 class. Thankfully, that was a huge get at the time. So, yeah, they've done a great job. But anybody that followed PK at Boise State and then Washington knew it was going to come to this. It just needed a little bit of time.
Yeah, shout out Barron Sorrell too.
Yeah, definitely.
At the Senior Bowl, that's good stuff, man.
You see Barron down at 250 or something. I think if they put him in a traditional outside linebacker position rather than having him with his hand in the ground, I think that guy's we're gonna see that guy getting double-digit sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him. He's a kid you root for, man. Did everything right.
Everything.
You could see his hand strength on display this past week. It was that was an underrated aspect for these edges. He was kind of controlling these guys. So it's going to be fun to watch him in the NFL. Hopefully, he goes to the right situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the LSU tackle. I think he lost. I don't know, man. He lost some points this past week.
Yeah, he was getting yanked around a little bit.
Yep. All right, guys, before we keep going, let's hear from Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
214-444-0808. I'm trying to memorize it by now. We have it so many times. You think we'd have it. All right, guys. Attrition. So this is the 22 class. This is the first class that they had. And it's just interesting that Eric came upon this too, because I was thinking about this. We have a lot of these guys transferred. So I'll show you guys kind of what we're talking about, and then we can kind of go through it and reminisce here. Let me pull it up.
Reminisce.
Pretty much. Oh, man, remember when he went to TCU? That's pretty much what it's going to be like. Okay, so here's our pan out rate. Meaning that they're still on the roster. They went pro. Let me zoom in for you guys. 12 out of 28 guys, 43% pan out rate. And then of the guys from this class that are still here, like Kelvin Banks left, right? Cam left, so they're not included. The senior rate is 32%. So this is, you'll see what's interesting is like kind of trends a little bit like towards the bottom is a little bit more guys stay and towards a little bit more towards the top. But it seems like these kind of like questionable second string guys are the ones that are like, I can start at SMU. I can start at TCU. So that's kind of interesting. But you did a whole piece on it, Eric. What did you get from it?
Yeah, well, I mean, Sark was hired in January, and that is late. You are way late on the class, on the current recruiting class. If you get there in January, we've seen this with individual position coaches where Chris Jackson had to get his sea legs, Kenny Baker had to get his sea legs and get help from NIL, and Johnny Nansen didn't have the cycle that he had hoped to have in his first year. Now imagine the entire staff is like that. So that's a late time to the cycle to get started. And that was kind of the problem. They didn't really have proper evaluations. They missed some mental evaluations, which is going to happen. But they also missed some physical evaluations as well, guys that just didn't have the size or length and projected to never have that. So they knew they had misses early on. Probably 6 months after that, we heard, oh, good Lord, there's going to be a lot. We were prepping our guys. We were prepping our readers on Inside Texas. Get ready. This class is not going to hit like you would have liked. But most importantly, they had to hit offensive line, and they did a good job. You could say a great job. Would have been nice to get Cam back for another year. But they had to hit on offensive line, and they did that. They were also coming off a 5-7 season. So, there was a lot of headwinds going into that signing day. They did good, all things considered. But given the fact that they got in so late, they knew they had misses. I remember talking to somebody right after they had the 2023 class, and this guy said, "Look, we had a full 2 years to evaluate these guys. We're gonna put 10 guys in the pros from this 2023 class." That was in the same conversation that he said, "Look, we missed on a number of 2022 guys, so it just happens."
Yeah,
it's But like, what's crazy with it? Like, the miss has to be, a lot of it has to be psychological, right? Because like, Jamon Tapp's a player. Like, Dre Bledsoe can be a player.
We can freestyle down this whole list if you want to.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
We got an hour to kill. Let's go for it. All right, let's go with our no's. We know our yeses. Terrence Brooks, mental eval.
Yeah, it's processing. He's just too inconsistent with technique. He played great 80% of the snaps, but if you're playing bad snaps at corner, it's going to cost you. And, we saw that. Then, he had some bad luck too. Sometimes he had good coverage and he was still beat. But, he went to Illinois this year and he didn't play a lot. So, the market kind of spoke on him. Now, I had him highly rated coming out of high school, but I had him more as a safety. And so, if the processing was an issue at corner, it probably wasn't going to – who knows what was going to happen at safety. His dad played in the NFL at safety. Chet Brooks had an all-pro season, in fact.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just – yeah, I will say it was more on the mental side than the physical or athletic side.
Brennan Thompson.
Track guy.
Yeah, that's easy.
BJ Allen, the safety out of Alito.
Yeah,
mental eval. If you watch the sophomore tape and he was wearing number 7, I said, "Man, you look like Michael Huff." He said, "That's what my dad says." Junior tape, didn't like it. Was a little bit down on BJ going into his senior year. I let my boys at South Oak Cliff talk me back up to it. They loved him. But yeah, mental eval. And he was impressing when he first got on campus. I know Gary Patterson said, "Man, I should push harder on him at TCU." But Gary Patterson did not recruit him hard at TCU, which always stuck out to me. So yeah, we'll say that's a mental miss.
Justice Finkley traits, because I think the mental eval is all there.
Absolutely, physical limitations versus the guys that he can play at Texas. He can play at Texas. It's just he got recruited over by guy, and each of the guys that played ahead of him, you could see like an obvious advantage. It's either length or Trey Moore just moves different, bendier. So yeah, just length issues with Justice for sure.
Jamon Tapp,
mental consistency, maturity.
I like Jamon coming out.
Yeah, I mean he's a hell of an athlete. If you put Jamon Tapp's Justice Finkley's head on Jamon Tapp, you got something.
You got something. Dre Bledsoe. I know this is one, Eric, years ago when we were doing it on the Texas Homer channel, where you were like, "Man, if this kid pans out, if it works, he's going to be an NFL player." The problem is there's no guarantee that it works. So, kind of, what's the latest on Dre?
Consistency, maturity, accountability, reliability. But yeah, man, I still hope it works out for him. It was one of those kids. He came in, you're like, all right, if you make it through that first year, you're good. You feel good about him sticking around, and he did stick around. It just wasn't to be. He's at Mississippi State now. Hopefully, them just throwing him the wolves, realizing that they need to play him. He's too good to not play, and he can grow into that. I'm not sure we've heard the last from him, just because he's so damn talented, so explosive, so flexible, and he's a physical kid too. But he's different. You could tell him. You could see him warming up, and you could see he's different from everybody else out on the field.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that got away, in my opinion. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that one hurts.
Chris Ross out of North Shore had the incident on the team. So what is that? Mental eval?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened with that incident, and there had to be more to the story. I always liked the kid. I think I wrote one of his tweets, one of his commitment tweets. I don't know. I wrote a tweet for him. I love the kid. I had a lot of interactions with him. He had trouble putting on weight. I remember seeing him senior year on the track, and I'm like, "What are you weighing, bud?" He's like, "Hey, 255." I was like, "Oh, good Lord, that's not good." And so now he's playing edge at Nevada, Jeff Choate, he's a talented kid. Don't get me wrong. We saw him playing defensive end before he got kicked off the team, and he looked pretty good doing it. He's back to he's like 260, 270 now. So edge is his position. Maybe we'll see what Choate can get out of him.
True.
Malik Murphy, man, now at Oregon State after a brief stop at Duke, and then Duke went and bought their guy, and everybody had to look elsewhere.
Everybody knows the story here. Kind of got over recruited with Manning coming in, and then he went to Duke, had a pretty good year. It was a little inconsistent. Still a little bit long in everything he does. Processing, deliveries a little bit longer. They bring in Darian Mensah from Tulane, who's they paid through the tooth for it.
Right.
I mean, that's Oregon State. We'll see. Back on the West Coast, I think that was a school that was after him in high school too.
I like Malik, man.
Austin Jordan,
Oh,
TCU.
man, I saw the TCU staff at Lufkin when he went in the portal, and I was talking him up. I said, "Hey, look, this guy didn't leave Texas because he couldn't see the field. He just had people in front of him. Jadae Barron. He's not going to play ahead of Jadae Barron." I was talking to Andy Avalos, the TCU coach, and he's like, "Yeah, I think we're going to take him." I was like, "Y'all be crazy not to." And then he goes to TCU and didn't do a whole lot. I don't know why. Austin's a quality player. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but he should be able to start at TCU. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he was a decent player. I mean, he was important depth for us with maybe a future.
He played a lot earlier as a freshman, especially against Alabama.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Aaron Bryant knows how to Mississippi. Was Aaron Bryant Mississippi?
Yep. South Haven, Mississippi. Yeah, just a exceptional kid, great locker room kid, hard worker, everything you're looking for. Just not quite the SEC animal they want. They want more length. They want a little bit more athleticism. He could be a guy that played at Texas. I mean, we've seen Trill Carter plays better than Trill Carter. He could have been a guy that played at Texas, but I think they're just looking for a different type of guy. Look at what they're bringing in versus Aaron. Ended up at Vanderbilt. That makes me so happy. That's a great school for him. It's just a perfect situation for both. He's going to play there a lot. Clark Lee's a great defensive mind. They're going to get a lot out of him. He's got good academics. And Vanderbilt's no longer a pushover. So hopefully it really works out for him.
Yeah, that's a win-win, man. Getting a degree from Vandy.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Larry Turner Gooden out of California.
So Larry was on the scene early out on the West Coast, and had everybody thought he was going to be a 5-star, kind of a wide receiver DB. Missed a lot of time junior, senior year. Part of that was COVID. California, they didn't play. So that was just a huge projection. Nobody really knew what to expect out of him. Ended up being a total tweener between his build and his skill set. Wasn't fast enough to play safety. Wasn't really a linebacker body. Just a tweener. He's at San Jose State now, I believe.
Yep.
Derek Brown, man, one of the kids that was on Twitter recruiting for us, was down with the horns, man. Did a lot of work for us in that class. I think was this traits?
Well, he's athleticism was there. He got to Texas. He was like 208 pounds. And that's just a long road to play edge at Texas. They thought about, maybe linebacker, maybe H-back, something like that. But yeah, he went to Texas State. I'm not even sure he plays football anymore.
No. Looking for a team.
Travell Johnson. Well, I remember him too. Was he at Arlington Martin?
Yep.
Arlington Martin.
Yeah. Martin. Yeah.
His tape was a lot of fun, man. Special teams. He gave like this really powerful locker room speech.
Yeah.
So it's like the mental eval was all there. I think this is probably a traits thing, or just playing at the highest level of Texas probably couldn't work. Yeah. But everything else was awesome.
It was a bad recruiting class for linebacker that year. I felt terrible for Choate. Everyone was like, Jeff Choate can't recruit. I'm like, look, there's nobody in the state. I think they were trying to recapture some magic from Ben Burr-Kirven that they had at Washington. Everybody remembers that guy with the blonde hair running around like crazy, undersized linebacker. I think they were trying to go for that here. They didn't really have any other options. Arlington Martin's a great school to be in. Travell is going to win you over, like you were just talking about. He got hurt too. He missed most of his senior year. He's at ULM now.
Oh, is he? Yeah, I lose track of some of these guys. Xavion and Bryce, lengthy or like skinny corner type.
Slash receiver, man.
Yeah, he got an offer from Texas at camp, and Texas liked him. Was pushing for him, but not nearly as hard as OU. OU got him. They flipped him from OU in December. When that wild December, that was a fun month. He was solid at Texas. He didn't look out of place. I don't know why he's not making more noise. I think he's at North Texas now.
North Texas,
Yeah, I don't know why he's not making more noise. He was not totally out of place at Texas, so he should be doing more than what he's doing now.
Zach Swanson.
We all know Zach from the Arizona State game.
Yep.
Yeah, he was undersized, but good off the ball, good locker room guy. This is when I say they missed some of the projections out of the gate. This is the one that I'm talking about. A number of these guys, a number of these guys are just missed projections out of the gate. Derek Brown missed projection out of the gate. But yeah, Swanson, they liked Swanson as a player. They just thought he was 20 pounds away from being a good player.
He had good motor in his tape. I remember. Yeah. Savion Red. This is honestly, man, out of this group, probably the one that hurt the most just for this year. Yeah. So it's like he probably was going to be a nightmare in the locker room and sidelines, maybe. But as far as like needing his intensity at the running back position, it would have been nice to have Red this season for sure.
Yeah, when I watched Nevada a little bit just to see what Choate had going on, and he looked a little out of shape and slower to me, but he still picked up almost 700 yards, 5.8 a carry, and 8 touchdowns. So now I'm not sure. Obviously, had C.J. Baxter not been hurt, Savion never would have seen the field. Maybe he would have seen the field this year. I don't know, man. I think everybody was over Savion Red. He was a bit of a handful. Very late addition of that class.
Yeah.
They didn't really know where he was going to end up. Could have been offense, defense. He started off at wide receiver, and then he got up to 240 pounds. So,
dude, he still had one of the best single plays I've seen in recruiting, where he carried that entire defense for like 40 yards on his high school tape. It's one of the hardest. Yeah. I can't remember if he caught it and ran, but it's one of the hardest plays I've ever seen a player make of not giving up. But also my favorite moment I'll give you is when he threw up Crip to Brennan Marion with the last name Red. With the last name Red. Yeah. So it's just you got to imagine the internal struggle of being a Crip with the last name Red, I
remember I kept telling my readers, you don't want to blow these kids up too much. So I was just saying, yeah, he's really hyper competitive. And that was my kind of way of saying he's an a-hole teammate to deal with. Nobody's going to get along with him. Yeah. Hyper competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, man, I've talked to some pros. They're like, man, you need 2 or 3 psycho guys on the team. They're just there. Like he's like, as long as you can keep them out of trouble during the week, you need them. I thought maybe Red, if you could just keep them contained enough, you kind of need one nuts guy to go out in the battle with. They can't all be it's the Mac Brown, like high character, blah blah blah. Some of them got to be a little nuts.
Yeah, you need 1 or 2.
Yeah, you definitely need a team with an edge.
Yeah. I mean, it's a blood sport. We're placing gladiators here. All right, guys, before we keep going, let's hear from the one and only Laura Baker.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
So also what I probably to make this exercise more valuable in the pan out rate, I need to go to like Ohio State or somebody else and compare, because I don't know if that number is super silly. It does seem like it's a lot. We lost a lot of guys. How do you think that's going to play out? Now, the guys that are left are like starting or are going to fight to start. So like what has stayed is quality, but it's also a little tricky too of like, so I was saying like these second string guys that are good enough to play at TCU, wherever, but not quite there at Texas. It seems like that's going to be the hardest to hold on to, especially in the NIL age. Mississippi State will take you, that kind of stuff. Do you think this is just purely missed evals, or this is also can kind of be the way of it going forward, where those second string guys end up getting poached more often?
Well, I mean, that's part of it. That will be part of it. Playing time. Every kid wants to play, and that's what we say. Right. A lot of these guys, their patience is going to be rewarded. Now, I've got an article I'm thinking about writing is, guys that are basically in hibernation right now that nobody's talking about. They don't even know these guys are ballers. If they really wanted to get antsy and go play somewhere else, they could. But we've seen a lot of times at Texas in the last couple of years where patience is being rewarded. Yeah. So I think that's good. But going back to 2022, that class they were putting together by the seat of their pants, and they just had a lot of missed evaluations, and they knew it early on. And since then, that's not a sign that they struggled to evaluate. They just didn't have time to properly evaluate. The hit rate in 2023, 2024, 2025 is going to be much better than that. That was just, and they went 5-7. You know, Sark hadn't proven anything yet. That was a total uphill battle. You know, I'm not complaining about that class. I'm just giving context for why we saw so many misses. There was just a lot of missed evaluations, some of it mental, some of it physical.
But also, like, there's no one on this list that's a devastating loss that like went on to be Heisman.
No, there was never there was never going to be that. That was never a concern. Most of those guys didn't even want to leave. They would just had to make room for better athletes, better players.
Yeah, but it's odd. You would think like one guy would leave, and you'd be like, "Damn!" But there's really not one.
Yeah, they haven't gotten to that level yet. Now it's close to happening this year. Yeah. You know, they're in the spring portal, but not those guys. No.
Yeah, the fun world of modern recruiting.
Yeah.
Coach, what do you think about these evals? You think that they were just, hey man, we got to get a class together type thing?
Yeah, you run into that, especially when you're a new staff and you're just trying to get your footprint in the area and all the coaches and find players. But you got to find that information quick. And then you probably take advice from somebody who is pumping up a kid and telling you he's all world. And then you get him. It's like, okay, that guy sold me, you know what I'm saying? A bag of bad goods. So it happens sometimes, especially when you're just trying to get out there. You're just trying to make a name for yourself. You offer kids. And like I said, you can sort of similar goes by rankings. Oh, this kid's ranked high. He must be really good. And you may take a chance on him, right? But like Eric said, come out from 5-7 season, definitely. I think, and then when they get to campus, things just sometimes don't play out the right way, or things don't go the right way for a kid, or whatever the case may be, and so ends up happening. But you see it quite often, especially when the staff takes over a team.
Yeah, and I was starting to do the same exercise with the following class, the 23, but I mean, almost all those guys are there. It's not the same thing, right? We got to see it's not the same amount of years too. But that's what's going to be kind of interesting for me is I want to see if it's this next group, if they don't, get their starting spot in the spring, are they out too? And because I just think that's kind of the way of the world too, and a little bit of it. All right, we're good on attrition. It's interesting though, right? There, you don't have a ton of senior leadership here. What we do have is Campbell, Neto, Jalen. So like starter, went pro, went pro, starter, not a starter, likely starter, O-line depth, special teams. So the guys that say it's
Connor and Cole are going to battle it out. I've been underselling Connor a little bit. I've been told recently while I'm doing this roster audit, getting to know the latest word on each guy on the roster that Connor's not going to go lightly this spring. So he and his good friend are going to be battling it out at center.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
It would be.
Yeah, them battling there is going to be quite interesting. All right.
See what kind of weight Agua puts on in the his all season.
Yeah. Elio, I know this is out of the blue, but what happened to the Eyes Are a podcast that Inside Texas used to have?
Yeah, first of all, I hated ditching that because it was such a good name. Eyes of Texas Are our podcast. Well, that also kept me out of the controversy from the summer of 2020. Yeah. I had to ditch that podcast. I don't like podcasting. I should probably like it more, but I don't. But really, I canned it after the 2019 loss to OU because I knew Tom Herman was done. And there was nothing good going to come from me having a podcast of telling people exactly how I felt of where the program was. So it was going to hurt recruiting. And I wasn't going to sit there and tell people that it's okay when I knew it was over. I didn't know when it was going to be over. Obviously, he had another year. But I knew it was over after that OU loss. They gave up 9 sacks. Recruiting was took a tumble right then. They were about to get Donovan Jackson, all those offensive line. It was just going downhill from there, and I knew it. And there was no point in keeping that thing going because it was not going to be productive.
Yeah, having to dance around it for an hour a week is not fun.
No, I'm not going to tell you that it's okay when I don't think it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Red should have stayed. He would have played a lot in 24. Given the circumstances, Dude, I'm just saying, man. Like on the goal line, dude. Like I'm unleashing red.
You know, put
We'll
him in
see.
a Wildcat again.
Yeah, not even Wildcat. It's just like let him go, man. Why not? If he does not destroy the entire locker room culture.
Yeah, I hate that because it seems like the coaches handled that perfectly well, and they still weren't rewarded for it. Yeah, so I hated that. But yeah, they don't keep the guys. They don't keep the guys that are tougher to deal with in the locker room. They lost the 3 guys that were most difficult to keep in line in the locker room this year. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, that's huge.
But you gotta have like. Hopefully, we kept good divas, man. You need a couple, man. You need a couple crazy guys. That hopefully they don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who the crazy guys are in there.
Yeah, there has to be a couple, man. You can't get rid of all of them. This is not a church group.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who they are.
The next article ask people around the program who are the secret crazy guys.
Yeah, 5 guys you wouldn't let date your sister.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good. That's a good off-season work right there. All right, let's talk linebackers. Eric just did his breakdown of that room.
Yeah, we did our roster audit. Go sign up and read, man. It's $1. You can read about every single player in the program, and these are not my words. Well, they're my words. I wrote them, but they're those are source words, quotes from sources. Anthony Hill, everybody knows he's great. The big thing he needs to work on is pass drops, and he's going to make a concerted effort doing that this offseason. I expect him to work almost like he's a safety at times. He's got plenty of DBs he can work with. That's going to be a focus because this is the one thing that's going to get picked apart. Well, run fits are going to be a bit of an issue too unless he cleans that up. He's gotten better at it, but the one thing the NFL is going to worry about is whether or not he's going to be a liability in coverage. Now, he's all the athleticism in the world. I think he just needs more reps. He'll get that a lot. So nobody's worried about Anthony Hill, but that's going to be the focus. There's no perfect player. That'll be what he works on.
Also, too, man, that pass rush ability, the one team, even if his drops are awful, they'll be like, we'll find a way. We'll find a package. There's a way to get Anthony Hill on the field. That Micah Parsons style.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing, Micah Parsons.
Yeah, there's going to be a give and take. Like, even if the coverage isn't great, like, you make Hills coming downhill, whether it's coming the blitz up the A-gap or coming off the edge. Hell of a natural rusher.
Yeah. Even a Denton Ryan, man, you watch his ability to navigate when he's rushing. He's always had that, man. Coach, anything on Anthony? There's not much to say. Good player.
No, man, look, one of the best linebackers in the nation. Like I said, everybody has something to work on, right? Work on pass drops, like you said. Maybe gets in the offseason. Maybe he finds one of those other trainer guys outside the staff that he can work on pass drops and things like that. Work on his hips, and so
he's going to do that. He'll do that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a high draft pick right there.
The other starter, Leonga Lefau out of Hawaii. Man, coaches have been high on him since he was getting recruited. I mean, Eric would talk about that all the time, that the coaches love his potential. What's up there?
Yeah, they had a much higher grade on him than any of the networks did. They always said if that kid was at DeSoto, everybody would be talking about him. Yeah, both of those. And what you should mention about Hill that I wrote is that he's popular in the locker room, which is I think that's important, especially when you're looking at a leadership position like linebacker. Leonga's popular, very, very tough. He's good at diagnosing the run, but he got a little antsy and overplayed a little bit this year, a little over aggressive at times. They'll smooth that out. Very, very, very good in pass coverage. Very, very good. They feel like he's a complete linebacker. He just needs a little bit more seasoning. Had a good year this year, not a great year. I expect him to have a really, really strong year. And then as a senior, I expect him to blow up.
I like the can get more physically developed. He hasn't really filled out the pads yet. And that's what I kind of want to see a little bit of. Yeah.
At the same time, he's still a pretty dense kid and people don't really enjoy getting hit by him. So once it really comes to bear, we're going to see a different Leonga as a senior. But next year I want to see just a little bit more complete player playing between the tackles, defending the run, and then as a senior, I anticipate him putting it all together.
Smart player or instinctive player?
Well, I think they're both. I think a lot of times instinctive is a sign that you're smart. You probably watched a lot of football, a lot of tape. We saw him making plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage very early. I think he had a really good game against Vanderbilt.
Yep, he read the screen very well.
Yeah, so, smart player.
Brad
Connor,
Smith.
that may be your guy, Connor, there, on the list. Teeter the line a little crazy. They got the ponytail hanging, man.
Hey, there we go. We might have
I'll be afraid of him.
Yeah. Like, that everybody thinks that it's all vacations on Hawaii. It's not.
You know who I think has a little bit of secret crazy in him? Michael Taft. I think it's there.
Yeah, he does. Did you see that Texas football tweeted out that picture the other day, and everybody's like dying out on the workout field, and he's got a giant smile on his face.
He's just eyeing people like, can you do it? Can you keep up? Yeah.
He's counting for those reps. Yeah. So
I think Taft has a little bit of crazy in him. Maybe Leonga has it. We're gonna have to see. Brad Spence.
Yeah, he arrived a little banged up, nothing serious, just kind of, just working out the kinks from the season, just like Anthony Hill. Another thing I said, Anthony played through a lot of injuries. So that's, Anthony, it's funny. We're sitting there talking about what he needs to work on. Anthony's just a complete dude, loves the team, loves the sport. Yeah. Brad showed up missing some, or was a little dinged up. They're kind of working out the kinks with him. They feel like they can do a lot of what they do with Anthony, and he has the same critiques as well. Needs to get better in pass coverage. But he's a good blitzer, good off the edge. Kind of, if Anthony Hill is the 10-10, I'll call Brad a 7.5, maybe 8. But again, he's got 2 years too. So we're going to have, 2 years from now, we'll probably see Spence elevate behind Hill, and Leonga starting next to him. They're still going to be good.
People are pointing out Colin Simmons. Whenever I watched Colin Simmons and Armaj Reed Adams at A&M battle all game, Colin Simmons is also nuts and completely competitive. Rewatch that game just watching Colin Simmons. I've never seen two players physically fight the entire game. And I think it was DeSoto versus Duncanville again there with those two. So Colin Simmons has a little bit of the crazy guy in him too. And a 5-star body, which is excellent. Ty Anthony Smith.
Oh, I love this kid.
So I've only hear positives about Ty Anthony. So what's up there?
Yeah, everybody loves him. Natural. That's the word with him. Leonga and Ty Anthony are viewed as like every bit as natural linebackers as Anthony Hill. Ty Anthony, good at diagnosing, good in coverage, just needs to keep adding weight. I've mentioned this a few times on the show, but when he played my alma mater in the playoffs his senior year, they run slot T, and there's a lot going on as a linebacker trying to find the freaking football. Yeah. He had like 18 tackles or something, and you don't prepare. That's the first time he ever saw it. He has a week to prepare for it. Offense, the first time he's ever seen it, and he's just racking up one tackle after another. Every time, that was the name you heard more than any other. So that said a lot about his diagnostics. We started to see it last year. He had the pick. Deep in coverage this season. You saw everybody get excited for him. That tells you how popular he is in the room. Another year of strength and conditioning, and that guy's going to be good. I think Ty Anthony is probably going to end up being maybe not an Anthony Hill level superstar, but I think he's going to be a star in college football.
That was a good flip from A&M.
Definitely.
Great flip.
There we go.
Commentary. Elijah Barnes. Now an on 3 5-star, right?
Yeah, go for it. Coach knows him way better than me. Go for it, Coach.
Yeah, Coach,
man. Look, he said he's already impressing in workouts. Which if you've been on IT and read IT and been on the live, me and both Erica said he probably adapt to workouts very quickly. Man, he just has that mentality. Getting his strength, flexibility. I knew that was coming. He's athletic for his size. I can't wait to see him, mold to what he's going to be, getting that baby fat off. But he's going to work really, really hard. He's going to get in the playbook. Getting a chance to speak with him a little bit. Like he said, he's been watching a ton of film. He's just trying to learn and soak up so much information, man. I cannot wait to see this guy in the spring and when he puts the pads on, what kind of player he's actually going to be. But he's just trying to learn from everybody and trying to be the best he can be, man. I love this kid mental makeup, man. He's just a different kid. Like, doesn't care about the 5-star. To him, he's a 0-star. I'm starting over. I don't care about the rankings. I'm ready to go play. I'm ready to go show everybody, that I belong at this level. So I love this kid and what he's going to become.
Did you think he had one of the biggest jumps from junior to senior tape as well? I've heard that several times.
Yeah, I can go back and watch the junior film, and I even brought this up to him. Like, he was hesitant on reading and diagnosing plays. Like, he wouldn't attack downhill as fast, but you saw that in the senior. Like, he understood what he was watching film and gaining knowledge. Like, okay, I know what's coming. And he started reading plays way better than he did the junior year. But he set a bunch of goals for himself in that offseason. Like, I'm going to be better at this, I'm going to be better at that. It started in track. When he wanted to race Caden Durham, like, I may lose, but I'm chasing. Right, that mentality, he chased it his whole entire senior year, playing running back, blocking punts. Like, he didn't want to leave the field. I saw from a leadership standpoint too. offense may be in the huddle. He's walking on the field, getting those guys, going. So I think he's just a different type of a player, but he attacked every single goal. I think he's going to be a great player.
Hell yeah.
Hey, Jackson Miles, go read that article. You'll see we got all the offensive positions are hyperlinked at the top of it, other than offensive line. I haven't done offensive line. That's a little bit longer. And I've done edges as well. But by the time this series is done, the entire roster will be broken down. These are not my thoughts. These are the words behind the scenes. And it's articles like this is what really helps us be so accurate on not only the talent on the roster, but where the team is headed. We've really nailed the rise of Texas football under Steve Sarkisian because of information like this.
Yeah, these are not just cute, like, who are my favorite player articles.
Right.
You can learn a lot about the team and project guys off of this. Jonathan Cunningham, seem to have a lot here.
Yeah, I don't have a great feel for him as a player yet, but he's got the length and he's pretty athletic. I don't have a great feel for him. Coach, again, being a DFW guy, coach knows him better than me. What I want to see is him on special teams, run fast, hit hard. And then, I want to see the baseline traits that you're hoping to see at linebacker, and then, coach him up from there. What do you got, Coach?
If you used to have a wedge buster, this would be your guy. Like, he doesn't mind going down kamikaze style and just blowing things up. This may be your guy for a teeter line bit of crazy, right? He's a different kid off the field than he is on the field, man. He really turns up. It may be something North Carolina in the water, man, because they all kind of tendency to have that a little bit, but Jonathan Cunningham, he's definitely your guy. He's going to be a special teams guy. Go and blow up anything that you ask. Take on the double teams, whatever.
Coach, is that like Mo Blackwell? That kind of reminds me of Mo Blackwell.
Yeah, a little bit of Mo, definitely.
Yeah, they need that. So based on what we wrote, it's a pretty obvious depth chart to me. Now, I'm not reporting this as fact because I'm going to wait to see how it shapes up. But Mike, you've got Hill, Spence, and then Barnes. Makes a lot of sense to me. And then at Will, Dime, LaFau, Smith, and then Cunningham. So it's a little bit light on bodies, but there's no dead weight.
Cool. So as you're kind of going through these and crystallizing the rooms, how do you feel about the linebacker room?
Freaking love it. I love it. This to me has the chance to be the best linebacker room I've covered. Like I said in the lead into that article, there's been times where they had a singular talent, and that kind of overshadowed everybody. Yeah. This time they have a singular talent, but then a number of other guys that I think LaFau's going to play in the NFL. I think Smith is going to play in the NFL. It's a little too early on Barnes, outside of the fact that he's a 5-star. I would gun ahead. I would bet heavily that he does end up in the NFL. I'd just like to see something at the college level. There's a lot of NFL talent in the room. Anthony Hill's the headliner. But don't forget about everybody else. He's not really casting the shadow that you're not gonna see Logan LaFau making plays or Ty Anthony Smith or Brad Spence. So it's a good room, not a lot of depth, but all those guys can play, with the exception of maybe Cunningham.
Yeah.
No dead weight is really nice. I think it maximizes their potential.
Yeah, and they're going to get a lot of reps.
I was going to say you're going to get reps.
Yeah, lots of reps. That's a good point. And then, it also, what I really like is they get to go hard on this class. And Johnny Nanson's going to have his feet wet. He's going to be ready to go. He had a little bit of a disappointing cycle this last year. Luckily, Barnes was teed up for him. I think Barnes just wanted to be at Texas, and Jeff Choate kind of did a good job laying early groundwork. Now he's going to go big. So they need to go big in this next class, and I think they're going to do well.
Yeah, Nansen, I'm ready to see Nanson's recruiting side, because that was a big sell of him too, AR says, in 2025, can you see Trey Moore playing a hybrid edge / linebacker role like a Jalen Walker did at Georgia?
Hey, thanks for the super chat. I forgot about those things. I think they're going to cook up something different for him this year. I don't know what exactly it's going to be. I don't think they really have any I haven't heard any discussion of them playing him off ball. We have speculated that because of depth in the room and his ability, his skill set, and maybe it would help his draft value to demonstrate more versatility. He might be an off-ball linebacker in the NFL if the length doesn't work out for him. Right. I'm sure they're going to cook up something. I know they are, because I've heard there are going to be times that they play him and Simmons out on the field at the same time, and not just up third and long. That was part of the sell to get Trey Moore. Trey Moore did not want to come back to Texas if he was going to be an afterthought and just give away to Colin Simmons. And they basically stressed to him, no, you're going to play a ton, and we got different plans for you. So maybe there is something like that. that's what spring ball is going to be for. We'll listen for all the experimentation and tinkering. They've got a lot of pass rushers. They're going to want to get them on. When I was writing that linebacker article, I was thinking about all the pass rushers they have, and you've got to include Hill and Spence, obviously Moore and Simmons. Yeah. Ethan Burke I would characterize as a pass rusher. So they're gonna get these guys on the field.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Ian's gonna have to be plotting on all the packages and how it's gonna fit out. I know Ian wants that hybrid role.
Ian's going to be using his 1980 graphics to talk about 2040 defenses.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be very focused on 3-4 type stuff.
Yeah.
Coach Becton can definitely develop. This is from David Keith Williams, always insightful. Coach Becton can definitely develop undersized recruits, but Jonathan Cunningham as a linebacker is smaller than both 2025 safeties Texas recruited, Jonah Williams and Zealous Hicks.
I don't think he's smaller than Zealous. And Jonah had a linebacker evaluation on him early on in his career because he is so big. So it's not really a slight on Cunningham. I don't worry about size with most of these guys. I know that we started off this video talking about projections, but it's all about length and frame space. Jonathan Cunningham, I think, is plenty big.
Yeah.
Jonathan Cunningham is I think he's the same exact size as Jalen Ford coming out of high school, and Jalen did not lack for size at all. Hey, Coach, is he really 6'2"?
He maybe be close to 6'3" because he's grown a little bit. But I mean, you look at his older brother who came out of high school about the same size, ended up being a solid 235 pounds. Now he's on a practice squad for the Cowboys. Like, he filled out nice. So, projection of his older brother, then I'm not really worried about his size, especially if he puts in the work.
No, 235 is perfect for him. And he's got Ty Anthony in front of him. So Ty Anthony is going to take up a lot of space while he's developing. He's going to have time to develop. Ty Anthony was smaller than him coming in last year. Ty Anthony is smaller than Cunningham was as a true freshman. And we saw Ty Anthony put on 20 pounds. It still needs to put on another 20 pounds or 15.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, man. Texas does have the potential to have a 2 deep at linebacker in 2025 that are good enough to start on almost every SEC team. Hill, Spence, LaFau, Ty Anthony Smith.
Well, we know Spence would be good enough to start at Arkansas. That was about to happen. Yeah, and I like the fact that you left the A off of Leonga's name. I think that works too.
Lion LaFau.
Yeah. No, it's great. I've been pointing to this group for a while now, as far as 2025 goes, just because Anthony Hill's a 3-year player. You got to strike while the iron's hot with him. The addition of Brad Spence really hyped me up because I think he's very analogous to Hill. And then Leonga and Ty, I swear, man, the sourcing on those guys are so high that it definitely bought me in early on. So, and I was happy to see Leonga play well, although he could play better. And then Ty Anthony definitely flashed when he played. But the word behind the scenes on these guys, on Leonga and Ty, is very good. And we all know Anthony Hill. And I think if you watched enough Arkansas, you saw Brad Spence too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome room.
Any last minute recruiting updates or anything on guys in the 26, 27 world that you guys got late from junior day?
The biggest thing.
We've been banging out articles left and right on it. I'm going to start coming up with the kind of a modified big board based on where they're at. We're not saying it's a staff's big board. That gets us in a lot of trouble if we do that. And recruits start reading it, saying the staff doesn't like me. We get in trouble. But just based on what we're hearing, based on their pursuit, based on who they're going to go, they've gone to go see on the road, who they've been pushing for, who's going to visit. You just kind of put all the pieces together, and this is what we see as the big board. So we'll have that pretty soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any final words, guys, before we depart from the great fans?
No, I've got to come back on in a few hours. I've got to save my words.
That's true.
Oh,
you got a Monday Night Live to hit.
Yeah.
All right. Fans, thanks for hanging out. We always enjoy chatting with you guys. Eric, thank you for your time. Coach, you as well. And hook 'em, y'all. Peace.